Would rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome to our meeting for March. We do not have anybody that would like to address us on a non-agenda or agenda item. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the meeting held on February 14th, 2024, please?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of today's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. We do not have any conflicts of interest. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda is approved. And on to the reports of the president. We will start with an academic affairs update with the Diesel Technology Diploma Program.
Hello, President Ryder and School Board. Thank you for having me here today to help explain what we're doing with diesel technology this next or coming year. Currently, we have a 2-year AAS degree that we offer if they take the core classes the first year, and then they go on to either trucking or the ag construction side for their completion of the 2-year degree. What we have changed is that we went to a 1-year diploma program, and instead of ag construction, we changed it to heavy equipment and trucking. So the upcoming students will have 2 paths for a diploma, either trucking or heavy equipment, so they can choose their path. And then at the end of that 1 year, which is 2 semesters, a fall and spring, they would graduate with a diploma. We also have an AAS degree. We're going to retain that, and how that's going to change, instead of taking a first-year generals and then trucking or heavy equipment, they're going to go on to do the full 1 year with trucking and the full 1 year with heavy equipment, which will equate to your 2-year degree. Again, the 15 credit hours of gen eds for the 2-year degree or 9 credit hours of gen eds for the diploma will still remain in effect. Yes, sir.
So what things are being removed, not so very good word, from the 2-year program that you were offering to get to the 1 year?
What we're doing generally across the board is in the trucking side, which was 2 years, or the ag construction, we're going to shorten the lecture times and the shop. We're still going to cover all of the items, or all the components, the same lectures.
Hands-on.
We're just going to shorten them. We are accredited through ASEF, which is an ASE organization, and they will require us to cover certain items. And what we would do is go from the master technician status down to the service technician status with ASEF, our accreditation committee, which will require less hours, and they dictate exactly what we need to cover as far as making it a diploma to cover everything that they require. So that will guide us into how we can shorten one section, but we may have to, like pneumatic brakes on trucks, we may have to keep that just as long because that's an important safety factor with Department of Transportation inspections. But something like wheels and tires, we may cut some time from them to make everything fit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Do you find that you have students who currently are struggling with the 2-year commitment, and that you will have a greater number who would be interested in the diploma?
I think that is correct. We'll have a bigger number. What happens right now, Madam President, is that over the summer, they come for the first year, the fall and the spring, and then they get jobs. Of course, they get jobs before they're even there, because a lot of employers will say, we need a couple techs. They already have jobs lined up. They see the paychecks, and then they decide not to come back to school.
Yeah. And what I like about this is that sometimes I think this is true with any sort of higher education. Like, I want to go to school for chemistry or biology, but you don't really get into those classes until after that first year.
The first
And
year.
students kind of in general are like, ugh, I didn't come here for the English. Like, I came here for the chemistry, or, I didn't come here for the math. I came here for the diesel mechanics. And so what I like about that is that first day off the bat, you're going to be in those classes that are what you've identified as your passion and your interest. And so
Yes.
hopefully then that will give them the skills that they need to be able to go out and get maybe even a better job, because they'll have a diploma to take with them.
We do have a lot of students that, most of our students, but 2 of them currently have jobs in the industry. A lot of them, or some of them, I should say, are Build Dakota scholarships. Some are Sponsor a Scholar. We have 2 students from Minnesota that are sponsored and through their dealership. So they just go back on weekends and work. So one of those has a job just in an automotive parts store. It's not industry related, but he's sponsored through Minnesota, so he goes back. Most of our students will start anywhere from $18 to $23 an hour part-time in the industry. And I think that's why we get a lot of them dropping out over the summer for the second year. And the employers need them badly. We always get emails and phone calls. Hey, I need a couple guys. I need 3 guys. I wish we could triple our numbers. But I think we are on the road there. Heavy equipment. We're going to go through a teach out. I got a screen here. There we go. We're going to go through a teach out. And what that is that I have right now, out of the 23 students in first year, about half come to the trucking side and half go to the heavy equipment side. So next year I'll be doing a teach out. Next fall, my partner, Jason Steinmetz, he's the first year guy. He's going to start with the new 1-year diploma students. So then next spring, he's going to bring them over to my side of the shop, and we're going to teach. We'll probably have maybe 30 students for one semester, which is a lot for our size of a shop. But after that, we will be able, the following year in 25-26, we'll be able to start up to 24 in Jason's class, 24 in mine. So potentially we could have up to 48 in trucking. Heavy equipment, we only have 1 instructor, so he's maxed out at 24. So we are starting to see a lot of the following of this. We already have agriculture, or I should say heavy equipment, is potentially full now with accepted students. And trucking has about, I think, 15 or 16 already accepted. But of course, they have to go through registration and then show up that first day. So signs right now are looking pretty good.
Good. And you mentioned the Build Dakota. Is there any impact to students being able to get a Build Dakota or a Sponsor a Scholar by it changing from a 2-year to a diploma program? No. Okay.
No, ma'am. We currently have HVAC and plumbing, which are 1-year diplomas. Welding is 1-year diploma. They have been a 1-year diploma, and they still have Build Dakota students.
Perfect. Awesome.
And I think it might help out because now they only have 1 year to pay for, so it's cheaper for Build Dakota. So maybe we can get more students in Build Dakota.
Spread the money out more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
No. And that last one there just talks about the 15 hours of gen ed, credit hours of gen ed. So I have nothing further.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board?
Sounds good.
No, I think this is another example of how great of a job Southeast Tech does at pivoting to the community needs and the industry needs. And if we can continue to prepare students to be knowledgeable and great employees in a shorter amount of time and retain them and have them be just as skilled, I think it's a win-win for us and for them. So thank you for, the team, I'm sure, who kind of thought outside the box and was
Yep.
like, what can we do to help us and help them and get those skills out there and helping the industry. So love to see the quick reaction time to stuff like that, so that it's not like, well, in 5 years, we'll get you some people. We can make it happen right away.
We're
So
trying to alleviate both losing the students and filling the industry with a few more students.
yeah, appreciate the update. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion and a second to approve the academic affairs
So
update?
moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a strategic priority update.
Hello, President Ryder and the board. My name is Colette Schwartz, and I am speaking on behalf of the Academic Excellence Strategic Priority Area for Southeast Tech's Vision 2025. There's 4 goal areas within the strategic priority area, and so it was really difficult to put together everything that we have done, because we've done a lot up to this point, but I will try to just keep it brief and give you the key updates. So the first priority goal is dynamic and diverse academic environment. And so the key updates with that are, we had a CBE exploration pilot that completed this past fall. Further exploration into CBE and discussions continue into this semester to include J1 financial aid, admissions, enrollment management, IT faculty, and other support services. The Student Success Center created a well-being wheel so students can visualize how Southeast Tech's learning activities link with holistic student wellness, such as academic, career, emotional, financial, physical, and social wellness. Through the Student Success Seminar, which is a 2-credit course taught by Student Success Advisors, they teach students how to acclimate to the college environment and to develop effective strategies for academic, personal, and career success. Students will choose to attend various activities based off of those components. All employees considered how they could engage students in co-curricular learning at an institutional effectiveness day here back in February. And participants celebrated our robust co-curricular teaching and learning that occurs. And we were asked to create one learning outcome and assessment question by the fall term as a part of a reimagined passport assignment and wellness wheel. The Online Education Distance Education Council has updated the best practices and guidelines for online instructors to be used during a FAC class, which is a faculty education class to assist with training and assisting the campus in moving towards remote learning days. Our first remote learning day took place on January 12th. Expansion of alternative learning formats is continually being developed. The number 2 priority goal is investment in faculty. Tactics were prioritized for this year with a focus on faculty professional development for the 23-24 school year. Faculty Development Funds Work Group, Credential Committee, and Professional Development Committee joined forces to now be the Career Enrichment Committee. The goals of the committee include offering at least 20 hours of on-campus professional development and redesigning the MyTech website, our community web page, to foster usability and ease of tracking. Southeast Tech's Faculty Forum voted on a goal of sponsoring training to highlight innovative teaching practices and strategic methods to engage students in active, experiential, and service learning opportunities. The chairs and committee members of that investment faculty goal are meeting in April to then discuss guidelines for the other strategic tactics that are within that goal. In the third goal, the continuous improvement of academic programs, the Academic Resource Center expanded tutoring to support needs and support multilingual learners. The Access and Workforce Opportunity Office, as detailed in Criterion 1C2, Southeast Tech invested in the establishment of that Access and Workforce Opportunity Office, led by a director and advised by a committee. The Access and Workforce Opportunity efforts thus far have included a mentorship program focusing on first-generation students, identifying non-academic barriers that may exist for students, changing the need-based loans programs to a need-based grants program, evaluating admissions criteria, and moving for more test optional and multiple measures for many programs in the professional studies and industrial trades divisions. Another impressive example of improving access is the admissions work group, including academic leadership, faculty and enrollment management leadership, streamlining admission criteria for 20+ sets of criterion for 30 programs in the professional studies and industrial technology divisions to 4. So we went from 20 to 4 sets of criteria, making college more accessible for students. The health division is currently in the process of streamlining its program's admissions criteria, and Southeast Tech is continuing to explore opportunities to increase education access for all students. Other notable accomplishments for developing and expanding distance learning is that they developed and approved a Southeast Tech course codes and definitions document, so students have access to that in their handbook and on their course registration page. They gather data from students regarding how they prefer to learn and how they learn best. So a student learning and support survey was administered in which the results were shared during our institutional effectiveness day. They developed and trialed an instrument that's going to be used in peer evaluation and delivered to academic leadership for quality online and distance learning. And then they recommended actionable designs and plans that lead to high quality online and distance learning by revising the FAC 096 course, which is a training course for designing, developing, and delivering distance courses, and included the high flex options for that. So program learning outcomes were reviewed at IE Day in October and were revised. They're prepping right now for medical assisting reaccreditation, the program. And the dental assisting program, the LPN program, and the vet tech program have received full reaccreditation or accreditation. The automotive and diesel programs completed their mid-cycle accreditation activity and reporting, and then several programs have been identified to do a program evaluation process for the 2024-25 school year. In the fourth priority goal, promotion of exceptional and innovative teaching, the FAC 100 and 102 courses support technology and pedagogical training. New teachers are required to complete both of those courses. FAC 096 supports our online learning and multimodal delivery of instruction. The Academic Resource Center and Access and Workforce Opportunity Departments continue to increase services to students. The AWO director, Marcella, presented at one of our institutional effectiveness days, and then our ARC director, Suzanne Heising, she presented at this last February IE Day to support all learners. The Campus Climate Recognition Subcommittee is in the process of developing a recognition program anchored in the values of Southeast Tech for instructors. Plan is to launch this program in the fall of 2024. And academic leadership developed a faculty evaluation and performance appraisal, and this is in its pilot phase this spring. The goal is to then enter all of this information into NeoGov once it is in full swing. Are there any questions? That's a lot of information. I know.
A lot of good work.
Yes, and so much more that I couldn't put on this little update, but.
I think it was just right.
I was just going to say a couple things that kind of stuck out to me as far as the continuing to improve the academic programs. And I think that sometimes we get caught up with how can we help our current students and those barriers that they have to maybe continuing in a program. We don't always think about those barriers to applying in the first place. And so what I heard you say was that you've really been looking at kind of that, whether it's admission criteria, how does the application look, like just that kind of process, which Anybody who has recently applied for any sort of a program can attest to how just that alone can be overwhelming and could make people kind of bail on the process. And so anything that we can do to try to help remove the barriers of just that process, and then let you guys take it from there to help make those students be successful. But if we can't get them past the application process, then we're kind of stuck with not even being able to help them or having them be kind of in our sites. And so I liked what you said about kind of removing both the barriers, both to application and then also supporting them. And maybe they're non-academic barriers, but barriers nonetheless. And then I think we all are familiar with all of the ways that instruction has changed with distant learning and high flex and, you know, some sort of whatever combination of learning. And so I think it's important to keep looking at that as we want our students to graduate and we want them to continue and, you know, be retained for the 2 years or even the 2 semesters in some cases. And so how can we make learning accessible to them and still effective at the same time? So it's not like we're checking the box, but we're giving them the same experience, but maybe from a different location because that's possible. So, and then I always love to hear that our programs got either accredited or re-accredited because that's just a testament to the work that the instructors are doing with the students to make sure that the value that we're providing and that when they leave us, they have, you know, that certificate that's from an accredited program, which is many times required for them to get a job. So it's always important to maintain those too. So thank you very much for all of the information and your updates. Much appreciated. Any other questions or comments? No? Can I get a motion and a second to approve the academic excellence report, please?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is approved. Thank you. And next we have a financial aid update.
Thank you, President Ryder and members of the board. My name is Micah Hansen. I'm the Director of Financial Aid for Southeast, and I'm going to try to find my PowerPoint in here. There we go. Okay, excellent. So I'm just here today to update you on some information about our office, what we're doing, and then some changes that are coming with federal student aid that you may have heard some about. My credentials background, I bachelor's from South Dakota State University. I've worked in financial aid now for 15 years. My office is an office of 4. It's myself, a compliance manager, and I have 2 financial aid coordinators. All combined, we have over 75 years of experience working in financial aid. So we have one of the more study offices right now in the state for financial aid knowledge, which is nice for us. An important part of that is the support that we get from the school in being involved in state, regional, and national associations. Our professional associations, being active in those, keep us up to date on all of the changes that are happening, and we know Department of Education likes to make a lot of changes. So it's important that we are continuing that, and we do appreciate the support in continuing participation with those. What we do on campus, some additional services outside of our regular everyday. We present for campus visit days, academic advising and registration days. I go out and present to the Avera Academy and the Classrooms to Careers, talk to those students about scholarships, decision-making when looking at schools, etc. We present scholarship application workshops. We present to faculty and staff on different topics when needed. We've been working with the high school counselors on their annual meeting. We do presentations there, talking about the FAFSA and the changes, and then just the preparation of the numerous federal reports and reports for the school that were required. And then we also help with all of the processing of our scholarships and federal student aid, of course. Having been in financial aid, I've worked in public, private, for-profit, nonprofit, 2-year and 4-year schools. So when we present to schools, this is one of the slides, or present to students and families that we always put up as that smart investment. Their favorite question is usually to ask, how much is this going to cost me? What we really like to focus on is choosing a 2-year school or technical education is a smart investment for the amount of time and money that you're putting in, compared to some of those that if you're deciding between a 2-year and a 4-year, I'm looking at that return on investment, not just the cost alone in that. We do actually provide them the opportunity to figure out that cost, though. So we create this sheet that's provided to them as well, so that if a student comes to a campus visit day and gets either a program information sheet, which shows them semester breakdowns, or if they're at a registration event and they get their actual schedule, they can use those numbers, plug it in, and figure out, okay, what is this tuition actually going to cost us, so that they don't walk away with just no idea of what that's going to be. So we try to provide that to allow them to get an idea of what those semesters might look like for their students. It works really well with the program sheets that admissions and marketing work on, because they break those down, show the credits each semester. So it's very handy to be able to provide when they have those questions. Just some ideas of what we deal with in our office. So I haven't been here for a couple years, so I included the 22-23 and the 23-24. You can see this most recent year, we get about 4,000, between 4,000 and 5,000 files in per year for students that come in. Some of those are duplicates. It might be a student that's out there filling out the FAFSA, and then they go out and make a correction, so we get another file. We have some that have made up to 13 corrections for some reason by the time we get them. So that's the total number of files, and then individual applicants, you'll see below that is around that 3,300. And then once we process those and send out notifications, we used to call them award letters. Department of Education doesn't like us using the word award anymore, so we call them eligibility notifications. We sent out about just over 2,100 of those last year, or for the current year that we're in. We still may have a few more that are coming in for just our summer term, because of course summer is the end of our 23-24 year. We do face-to-face meetings, so we have students that'll walk in. Our numbers this year, we're down a little bit in walk-ins, which is good. That means that students are finding what they need online, and they're self-service that way, and we're able to help a lot. Just over 1,100 of those came in, and then that first 2 weeks of school, that's always the biggest rush. We'll go from having like 6 students in during the summer, during the week, to all of a sudden in the first couple full weeks of fall, we had over 300 students come in. So really large jump there. January 1st to the end of February, I think we have just around 620 emails from students that have come in asking questions about the upcoming year. So, and then of course we assist virtually and over phone and email as needed. Just some numbers for aid that was processed, 22-23 and 23-24. You can see we're up a little bit in Pell Grant, 807 individual students that got Pell Grant. We had 168 getting that supplemental opportunity grant. So that's the one where we get a limited pool of that funding, and we give it to students as they apply. 1,254 direct loan awards, and then we were able to employ 13 students in work-study positions so far this year. So we enjoy having that opportunity for our students. Common issues that we see in the aid office when students stop in, just finalizing all that paperwork. Students submit it and they think that's all they need to do, or they forget to check their email. The number of times that they say they didn't hear anything and we say check your email and they find it, especially when their parent is standing looking over their shoulder. It's pretty entertaining. If they can't find the right tax information, or if they've lost their information, if they filed incorrectly. So sometimes we have families, unfortunately, who when they file taxes, it doesn't meet the IRS law. And even though we're not required to be tax experts, we're supposed to know whether they did it right or not. So we have to request those changes. ID issues, so students and parents are now required to sign into the FAFSA, and so there's been issues with that over the last few years. And then aid limits as well that sometimes cause issues for students. Now the fun stuff, what's happening with 24-25? As many of you know, October 1 is usually when the FAFSA is supposed to come out for students. So your seniors should have been able October 1 to fill out the FAFSA in a normal year. This year they made so many changes that that wasn't available. So by law they had to have it ready by December 31st, which they actually beat that deadline. They opened it for 30 whole minutes on December 30th. They put it up for 30 more minutes on December 31st. It was open for 2 hours on January 1st. And then after that, for a number of weeks, it was just chaos. You would go out and try to see it on the website. Constantly, you would log in 1 minute, and on one computer, you would see that it's working, and somebody right next to you could log in, and it would say the site is down for maintenance, or it's down because there's too much traffic. So January was a little hectic, answering phone calls, a lot of panicked parents, convincing them that just because you don't have it done January 1 does not mean you're missing out. They have that up. Last number I saw as of the end of January, they had 3.1 million applications submitted for the FAFSA for 24-25. They still haven't processed any of those applications as of today. Because of the changes that they've been making, their system is not ready to process those. So we were supposed to get the information at the end of January. We got a letter at the end of January that said, hey, we're actually going to move that to mid-March. So now we're waiting next week to see if we will get another email or if we're actually going to get those files. So we're hoping that we have those files. If we don't, of course, we'll continue to reach out to those students and families and let them know that they're still in an okay place. Once we do get those, we will be sending out to every student that we receive a file on, letting them know we received it. We're working through a large number of them. We will get to you as quickly as we can, and that we're still available for questions. We will also look at working on reaching out to students who we see are current students that are enrolled for fall classes that do not have a new one once we get the information, so that we can also reach out to them and remind them that that's available now in case they tried it in January and got frustrated, so that we can try to reach out. So other issues that we're looking at, of course, Pell Grant tables come out, but we don't actually know what the number is. So students who we would send information now saying, here's what you may qualify for Pell Grant, those numbers aren't actually finalized yet from our friends out in DC, so hopefully that happens soon. And then gainful employment regulations begin in July, so we'll have some more monitoring and reporting to do for programs for that. We're hoping that there will be some regulatory relief coming from the feds, allowing us to relax some of those rules and reporting requirements, but those usually don't happen until we're partway into the year, so we'll wait with bated breath to see if that happens. So.
You would just quickly explain the gainful employment regulations?
So gainful employment is going to be looking at what a student in a certain field is making for their salary on average and what their cost for education is. Thankfully, being at a lower cost, we probably won't have much to worry about there. But it's looking at the overall what they're making for their salary versus what their investment in education was, and does that meet certain metrics that they set. It originally came out many years ago. They struck it down because the numbers that they were using to measure, they didn't have any background data on. So now they feel that they're in a better place for it. But this is also one of those that a lot of people are assuming that July, we may see that one pushed out even further again.
And when you say salary, you mean after graduation,
After graduation,
from their program,
yeah.
What is their, okay.
Yep, so they'll go out and they'll look at our grads and they will pull the data on what they're making for salary, compare that to national averages, and make sure that it's falling within line for what our costs are. Again, I don't feel that we'll have any programs that we need to worry about. It's just one of those that's going to add some extra steps into the reporting that we have to do every year.
Thank you for explaining that.
That is all I have, so if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those, and thank you for your time.
Anybody?
Feel sorry for. I can't imagine, and I filled out a lot of FAFSA forms, unfortunately, but they're delaying it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine as a parent. When you turn that on, it's like you can't get in. It's like, but anyhow.
I think it's obviously an important step for people to take, because without completing the form, you really do not get considered for a lot of opportunities. And so even for those families who may know that they're not going to qualify for something, it's still kind of one of those things you have to go through the process of doing. I think about, I don't know if it was a meme that was like, oh, you can afford 2 toppings on your pizza, you do not qualify for any, like that's kind of how people feel about it, is like, oh, that your bar is set so low that it doesn't really matter. And so I appreciate any changes that they've made that have made the process easier, but obviously then making the actual completion of it challenging probably lost some people that way too. But your job or your office in general has such an important job, because if we can't get students to afford it and can't get them to understand that an investment now is a bigger return later, that's a challenge. And so kudos to your team for saying the same thing over and over and over again.
Thank you.
To students, and hopefully seeing some light bulbs go off with either families or the students themselves. And I know I've had this conversation with my own daughter, who is a junior in high school, and comparing Southeast to, SDSU and USD and all these other places. And like their eyes are like, oh, like you put it in real dollars and cents and time. And I just think that those comparisons are so important. And I loved your example of your document, because it's not scary. Sometimes you look at those and it's like the document itself is intimidating, and it had graphics and it had, you know what I mean? It just seemed a lot more like, let's talk about this versus dun, 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 like this, we're going to have this conversation.
A form with little boxes that you have to fill out.
Yes, exactly. So all of those things, while minor, maybe independently, collectively, really make a difference to the experience that a student has and their ability to picture themselves going to school and graduating. So appreciate your work and your team's work. So tell them thank you from us as well.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion and a second to approve or acknowledge the financial aid update, please?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is approved. Thank you. Before we move into executive session, a few comments.
Good afternoon, President Ryder, members of the board. Again, after each presentation, I feel the urge to applaud. I think there's so many good things that are happening at Southeast Tech, and it's all due to the people sitting behind me. We're actually on spring break this week, so I wanted to say thank you to Kevin and Colette and Micah and everyone else you see here that are in attendance to provide this update today. There are a couple of thank yous, though, that I really felt it was important to make. Today's a pretty exciting day at Southeast Tech. We hosted approximately 1,000 middle school students from across the region for the Women in Science event. And that's a hands-on opportunity for students to promote various STEM careers. And it was held in the hub, and it was packed. If we could somehow capture all the energy and enthusiasm of all those students milling around. There was so much excitement. It was just so impressive. So thank you to the admissions office and Anna Fisher and everyone else that was so involved in making that a success. I also want to say thank you to Marcella Prokop for coordinating and leading our 8th grade career exploration days for 3 middle schools throughout Sioux Falls. Ben Rifle last fall. And on Monday, I think it was Whittier Middle School was on campus with about 270 students, 8th grade students. And again, exploring different career opportunities. And what's great about that is they get an opportunity to meet with different industry folks from Sanford, Avera, Midwest Mechanical, and others, along with our faculty. So it's just a great opportunity to expose some young people to various careers they may not have even realized they could pursue. And then later, I think it's tomorrow, George McGovern and about 240 8th graders will be coming by as well. So thank you to everyone that's involved with that. That's a team effort as well, but Marcella leads that charge. I also want to say thank you to Dean Jason Merritt and faculty members Matt Haydens and Nate Stoltenberg and the construction management students at Southeast Tech. Dr. Valdez and I had the chance once again to attend a Habitat for Humanity ribbon cutting event last Friday for the dedication of a new home that our students helped make a reality. So that is so exciting. It was in Southeast Sioux Falls, and another great opportunity there. So thank you, Jason, and all those faculty and the many, many students that are involved with that. And finally, thank you to Financial Aid Director Micah Hansen and Marcella Prokop and Jackie Hartman, who worked with the Sioux Falls Multicultural Center to offer a FAFSA and scholarship event, a workshop for families working on FAFSA. And you heard from Micah directly how complicated that is, but that's just an excellent example of the campus, again, going above and beyond. So this was on a Sunday afternoon for 3 hours that they came in and met with families throughout, working in conjunction with the Multicultural Center. I had a chance to pop in and say hello. And what was interesting to me, it wasn't just students, prospective students. Those prospective students came with their entire family. So, mom, dad, little brother, older sister, everyone came in. And I just think that those guys, they all did such a tremendous job. I think taking some of the fear and confusion that exists there in terms of opportunities to provide a future in terms in higher ed and look at different programs. So a great job there. And I think, President Ryder, you mentioned about the removing barriers, and that's another great example. We didn't talk a lot about it with all of you, but streamlining the admission criteria, as Colette pointed out, from over 20 different criteria down to 4. I gotta believe that had something to do to help us. It's all pieces, right? It's not the only thing, but I think it helped us with setting a 10-year high in enrollment this past fall. And again, this spring, again, we hit another 10-year high. And they just released the enrollment numbers for the 2-year technical colleges, and we were the only technical colleges to be up in the fall and again in the spring. And
Nice.
that
That's good stuff.
You should be proud.
that's
Yeah.
that's good stuff. So thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to add that I was on campus on Friday for the campus visit day. And my oldest is my first to pursue college at this point, or technical college anyway, advanced degree past high school. And it was an amazing day. Just the information that was presented. Micah, your presentation was very informative for me. Oh, if he's still here. Okay, good. Again, not having gone through any of that with any of my kids yet, being a first-time parent in this avenue, but it was a great day. Lots of great information. I'm a little overcome right now just because of everything you're just saying, Bob, so I'm feeling a little emotional myself. But you guys are doing such great things, and you're doing such great things for our students and our community and beyond. So you should be very proud, all of you.
I'd also like to thank Dr. Stabum. I don't know too many superintendents that take the time, as busy as she is, to come in here and listen to these updates. That's outstanding, and I think another example of the partnership and cooperation that we have as well. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, can I get a motion and a second to move into executive session, SDCL 1-25-2, Parent
So
and
moved.
Board?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are moving into executive session, and I believe we're going to go back. Do we reserve?